All right. Here we are.
All right.
Week 5.
Well,
Oh,
end of week 4,
well,
start
into
of
week
week
4. It
5.
is now week 5
Yeah,
of
we've
the
cussed in the NFL schedule. We have cussed over,
yeah,
and I'm
but
still
it's
talking over you.
It's the
the
pizza
next
crust.
episode of the League of Ogribrinardy Jagbroni's. I don't know what that was last week, Steve.
I don't know.
Steve actually say that?
Yeah, go back and listen to the pod last week. Steve
Dude.
Ogribrinardy Jagbroni's. So I was like,
Ogribrinardy Jagbroni's. Yeah, baby, yeah.
Kelly was complaining that my lighting was horrible, so I turned on this light that makes it really washed out. So instead of sitting in a dark cave, I'm now in a overly bright room, and you can really see the base bins behind me.
Yeah, the base
And I got my
bins.
Josh Gordon jersey on, so we're good to go.
Yeah, right.
You got a real Josh Gordon jersey.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe you.
All right, there it is.
That's a real Josh Gordon jersey.
You know,
Yeah.
I bet getting one of those signed would be pretty cheap these days.
If you can find the motherfucker.
Yeah, right.
Like I wanted to like do something like that at the Sea Dragons game when the XFL was still a thing, but yeah, that didn't happen. Whatever.
Oh, well.
It was also kind of awkward because like I didn't really want to wear a Browns jersey
To the Sea Dragons
when, like,
game.
and this was when this was like right when Deshaun Watson got signed, so I was like sick. You know, I don't want to look like I support Deshaun Watson or the Browns right now, but like, no, this is very clearly supporting Josh Gordon, like one of my favorite players. So, whatever. And it's mostly because of his struggle with alcoholism and drugs. Like, he had like a couple good seasons in the league, like really good seasons.
Yeah, all
But
pro seasons. I think he
Yeah,
had them.
he was good.
oh, he was a monster. He was so fun to watch, but he was just hammered. Like, dude was smashed, like Eddie Lacy.
Worse.
Oh, yeah.
Worse.
Fried rice monster.
Fuck,
Man.
don't do like yeah. Just don't. Don't drive drunk. This is an easy thing. Don't drive drunk.
Take it from me. Don't drive drunk.
Take it from all of us. Don't drive drunk. I've never
That's
been,
what Uber's for.
done
It's worth
everything,
the-
but like, yeah. God, get a fucking taxi. Don't drive drunk.
I mean, the fact that Uber exists now is like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't
no
have
excuse.
to know what a taxi service. You don't have to know the number. You've got Uber.
Yeah, it's
You have
on
a
your
smartphone.
phone.
You got a taxi. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
you just
Jesus.
There's no reason. There's no reason. Call a friend.
Well,
Find somewhere to spend the
anyway-
night. Don't drive drunk.
Anyway, Scott, you had stuff you wanted to talk about?
I do. So I have a list of things to discuss on the podcast today. The first thing that I want to talk about was Danny brought up the idea. I don't think he was really suggesting it, but was just kind of talking about the idea of league median scoring because of my embarrassing, sad defeat to Trevor, where he scores the most points out of the whole league on the week, and I score the second most points, and he was my opponent. And I was just like, God damn it. And then Danny was like, why don't we do league median scoring? So the first thing about this is I worked out the 6th seed rule where the points per leader not in playoffs makes playoffs as a way to address that. So and a good effect. Like, we've had a champion come from that rule multiple years in the past, and good teams end up, obviously, because they win the championship in the playoffs as a result. So I like that rule. Everyone seems to like it.
It's also more fun if you have a good team to not be out of it. Like, you can still catch like bad luck and with the median scoring. Like, with the
I feel like there's multiple teams this year where that's kind of the case. There's a lot of teams that are 1-3. There's no 0-4 teams this year. We have a good parity still because of the start draft was last year.
Relatively recent, yeah.
And it's still like early. Like, somebody can fall apart and somebody can go on a run. Like,
exactly. I like to think of this season as chunks of 4-game sets where things like we're out of preseason now. Officially, it is the NFL season.
longer preseason. Yeah.
And week 5 to 8 or 9 is when it starts to get cool and things really start to heat up for running backs historically. Interestingly, this year it's just been all running backs. But yeah, everything shifts in 4 or 5 game chunks of time, and it kind of seems to ebb and flow with the way the IR works now. Since COVID cinching that from 6 games required minimum, or was it 8? I think it was 6.
It went from 8 to 6.
It went from 8 to 4.
Or to 4.
For COVID.
That's right. Yeah.
So they made
Minimum
COVID IR, so teams more liberally use the IR as well. So when players go get a ankle sprain or hamstring strain or something, I just throw them on IR. They're out for 4 games and then they come back. So it kind of contributes to that effect, I think, a little bit. But anyway, back to the league median scoring. If you're not familiar with what that is, it's where all of the scores, the fantasy points for every team scored throughout the week are averaged, and then it shows in the app as a league median to beat, basically. And then if you fall above that number, you get a win on the week, and if you fall below it, you get a loss, in addition to your head-to-head matchup. So every week you go 2-0, 1-1, or 0-2. So the end of the season, basically, you have twice as many games played. So throughout, without playoffs, obviously, it'd be 30 games, or 28 games, because you have 14 weeks of regular season play, right? So a perfect season in that case would be 28-0 as opposed to 14-0. So there's that. It looks kind of weird and funky, but you get used to it after a while. It can be interesting because it makes Monday Night Football relevant to everybody as opposed to just the team. So, like, say your opponent has all their players play on Thursday and Sunday, and they're done, and you're done, and the result of the game on Sunday night. You don't necessarily care what happens on Monday outside of just maybe watching the game, because one of those players is on your bench that's in the game, or you just want to see what happens, right? You don't have any stake in the game. You're just kind of an observer, a neutral observer, right? The league median scoring, the people who like it a lot, for the reason that everybody cares about Monday Night Football now automatically, regardless of what players you have there, because at the end of the week, that number total is going up and up and up, and you don't want it to go too far up over your point total, so then you fall under the league median and then you get an L. So it's kind of a race. It's the same kind of tension as trying to win against your opponent on Monday Night Football, but for the whole league. And you're just hoping, like, oh no, don't go up so much that I fall below the league median.
You play an additional match against the average every week.
Correct.
Right. Like,
Correct.
That's kind of the simple way of putting it. But
yep.
It definitely has a way of I think what it does is it doesn't actually increase parity in leagues. I think it kind of does the opposite, which is one of the reasons I would argue against us implementing it, just, while we're talking about it, because it keeps the bad teams worse by record, and it keeps the good teams better by record. So it makes it harder to overcome and rebuild if you're doing worse, and so you're consistently losing more. You're more likely to get put towards the toilet bowl, for sure. But it has a way of kind of perpetuating itself. It
kind of has like a snowball effect.
Yeah,
is what you're saying. Where
exactly,
if your team is bad, it's going to be really bad because you're taking 2 L's a week usually.
Right.
Maybe you're still losing your head-to-head.
Or if you're a middling team too, you could, and you just happen to get unlucky, a lot of weeks in a row, then you start to also see that snowballing effect.
Yeah.
What it also does too is it incentivizes, like, you really have to come up with a better way to figure out draft position, because it really incentivizes, like, just basic tanking. Like in the PsyOps league, like, my team is terrible in that league, but I'm never going to get the first overall pick because I have like
you have enough
median.
points to meet the median.
Yeah,
right?
I don't beat the median enough, but I beat it in like I don't beat it enough to like actually benefit
Right.
like from like the
Exactly.
median getting the extra losses for my draft position. Like it just
it kind of feels like empty calories.
yeah, it's just like
Well,
it kind of sucks just in the fact that like it doesn't if you need to rebuild, like you're just kind of like, well, I just kind of have to sit through multiple seasons because it's the only way it works out, and then you just suck for a really long time.
Well, I think that it's when you're talking about draft capital and draft position, I think the rules that we have in place as of this season would negate any of those effects, because we don't base the draft capital or your draft position solely on your record or even max points for. We have a hybrid system that's quite complex, but wouldn't matter in that sense. This would, if we did implement it, basically be like what I described with the Monday Night Race, where it's a meta game inside of the game that would hopefully make things a little bit more interesting while also providing cushion for the effect that randomness has on the game as a whole, because I did nothing wrong being randomly matched up against Trevor. My team played fine. In fact, it played well above my expectations, and I scored the most points
better
I've
than most of
scored
the
on
league.
the season. Out of the entire league, I scored the second most points. But I get an L and I advance to 1 and 3 as a result. So the argument for it is that that experience should be smoothed out a bit, because in fantasy football you can't play defense. We can play defensive players, but you can't defend against what the other team is doing outside of sniping players on the waiver wire when they need last minute ads. But the changes that they made to the sub system, adding that in basically takes that strategy completely out of the game, because you can just kind of lock in a sub, and then if the player that was questionable ends up not playing, then you don't need to snipe people on the wire. They have players on their bench that they could sub in, and think about beforehand, right? So it's a tough thing. I personally don't like it. I'm very much a purist. The de facto way to play Dynasty is no defense. And you play with kickers, and you play with DSTs, and you play with Superflex, and you have really deep benches, and you start like um, two or three wide receivers, two running backs, two or three flexes. So you just have like super deep rosters, and I don't think I mentioned this, but you play super flex. I think I did mention that,
You
but
mentioned that. Yeah.
that's the key. That's the key, is that you play two quarterbacks.
Well,
But
ideally, you have two good quarterbacks.
right,
Yeah,
obviously,
right.
since it's a super flex, you could play any player there. But I don't like Superflex as a concept for one reason, and it's just that's not how the game is played. You don't play two quarterback. You have one quarterback. You don't have two quarterbacks on the field. Teams have
Taysom
tried
Hill
that in the
wants to
past.
disagree.
Right, but what I'm saying is that you don't have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields on the field at the same time. They don't the game in the future the game will look different, and there will be this multi-quarterback kind of meta that evolves in 2034 or whatever. But for now, the game is played with one quarterback. So I believe strongly in just having one quarterback on my team. And then on top of that, just building from that purist standpoint, I don't like the league median scoring because it goes against how the game works. Like in the NFL, you play a game and your team loses 51-52, like that, or whatever that crazy score was, the Kansas City Chiefs
Patriots game.
New England game from 2 or 3 years ago or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That was like one of the craziest games I've ever seen.
Like the most high scoring
You
game
score
in NFL
history, that many
basically.
points and you lose by 1, that's still an L. The team that loses gets an L. That's just how it works. So that's why I don't really like the league median scoring system, because it just like that's not how the football works. We're trying to model football, the game of football, and football doesn't have participation trophy league meeting. It's like, oh, good job, Jacksonville. You scored, 30 points this week. You lost by a field goal, but you know what? Because you scored 30 points and the league average this week was 23 and a half, you get a win. Good job. No, that's not how it works. So that's why I prefer the 6 seed rule. Like, it just makes more sense and accomplishes effectively the same thing. Because really, if your team is good enough over the season, let's say you're Nile from a couple years ago, and he was just getting mashed on by teams that would just he would had a great team and he would score like, you know, 120, 130 points in our format, which is a lot, and every week, and he would just play against the team that scored the most points 5 weeks in a row. You should get in playoffs because of that, So
yeah.
And it
I
accomplishes
think
that.
also to your point of like how football actually works, like if you think of it not as the 6th seed, but we have 5 playoff teams and a wild card, like that is actually like the general idea behind the playoffs. Like I think it's just actually a good system. Like as a general rule, I mean, you don't have to you can call it the 6th seed, whatever, but like it's a wild card spot.
It's a wild card.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I think I would play with the league median scoring if I was playing this game with children. Like legit. If I was
football
playing this
training
game
wheels.
with yeah, it's basically like flipping the bumpers up at the bowling alley because you suck at bowling. But it's like it hurts less when little Timmy plays against me and then gets destroyed by me by 1 point. Little Timmy's gonna be upset because he lost by 1 point, but at least with the league median scoring, he gets that the participation trophy victory, and he'd be happy about it, and it wouldn't
The
be
moral of
feel
the
as bad.
story is that Scott is going to create a dad league, and he'll have super flex, and he will have median scoring.
Yeah, maybe
for kids. Sure.
I think that sort of stuff is like really interesting. I know it's a really popular, like a lot of leagues use it. But as far as I can tell, the majority of leagues don't use the league median scoring, and the majority use Superflex. But I kind of feel like the mistake that we made with the passing first down scoring ended up being a gift because it really did elevate all passing quarterbacks. Like the rushing dual threat quarterbacks like your Kyler Murrays and your Josh Allens and your Lamar Jacksons and stuff are still the best. But it makes, your Brock Purdy, we've talked about this before, it makes your Brock Purdy's and your Tuas and that kind of archetypal passing quarterbacks viable.
Your traditional system guys, right?
Yeah, and everybody, all you motherfuckers roster like 4 quarterbacks. So
I don't know what you're talking about. I got 2.
Look at our wire.
I have 3 because of bye week problems. Fuck off.
No, you have Aaron Rodgers. That's why.
I have Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels, who both have buys on week 14. I'm screwed for week 14.
Yeah, that one always sucks. Yeah.
Like, I'm not dropping either of them.
So I had that last year with.
So I'm carrying Aaron Rodgers for 14 weeks to have an option there, and then promptly drop him as we head into playoffs.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Anyway. So, yeah, that's the deal with the league median scoring. Maybe we'll add it in the off-season survey. Maybe we won't. I don't know. I think Danny was just kind of throwing it out there as an idea. He did say that he was, not one way or another. But
it is an idea to keep around if like people show interest in it. Like it's not like we should just dismiss it if people.
Yeah. To be honest, I would be more interested in voting on adding Superflex. Not this season. I think this would be like way down the road.
We would have to do multiple seasons to switch to Superflex so it doesn't screw people.
It would also have to be something that would be a unanimous yes. Like
Yeah.
anything related to changing how many players you start must be a unanimous yes. Because everybody needs everyone created their rosters around the system that existed when the draft happened. And if we change that, it's affecting everyone's strategy and giving teams with more
It would
quarterbacks,
instantly
for
make Steve's
example,
team
more of
like
an
a top
advantage.
tier team because he's got Lamar and Jaden Daniels. They both
Yeah,
run.
Yeah, it immediately
Both can
changes my
pass. Like,
fates.
yeah.
completely.
You
So
know,
it's anything like that has to be. You have teams like me and Jordan and Casey and Kelsey who don't have the best quarterback situations. Like we don't have good. I mean, we have backups, but they're not like Steve would be immediate. He would be immediately stacked
right.
in that system. So I don't see us switching, to be quite honest, for that sole reason.
But we
But
shouldn't dismiss it if people are interested.
yeah,
Like,
if everyone's like this, we really want Superflex. I don't care that Steve's team would be a powerhouse or whatever. Then I don't have a problem if the people speak and that's what they want.
I honestly at this point think that if we make roster changes like that, we should just do the entire thing with a new startup draft because of how much it changes the strategies. I really don't think that we should mess too much with what players are started.
Right.
Because of
Honestly,
how much that changes people's
I was
startup draft
thinking
strategies.
if we did want down the road, so let's say like 5-6 years down the road or even longer, if we did want to introduce radical changes that would completely fundamentally change roster construction, like changing the number of starting linebackers, like I was talking about last week, or changing to super flex, or adding another flex, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think what would be a good precursor to that change is to switch our league from a dynasty league to an empire league. And an empire league is where you collect either double or 1.5 the amount of the regular league fees, and that additional amount that's collected goes into a separate pot that accumulates over the course of years. And then if a team wins back-to-back championships, so if they go to the championship, win, and then go to the championship again and win again the second year consecutively, then they get paid out all the money from the extra funds, the extra fees,
everything starts.
and the league gets nuked and we do a new startup draft. And then we could change the number of starters and make drastic changes. Like let's say that
That's
in the
a good way to
future,
finalize a league, right? Like
exactly. It's like that's
to end it is a
I
good
think that
sunsetting
that's a good
policy.
way to actually navigate and make it navigate that kind of seismic change in a dynasty league, and while also making it fair to everybody else. Because then it becomes a thing of, we got to stop the champ from happening because I don't want the league to reset because I like my roster. But that comes with its own kind of problems because people's strategies are revolving around trading draft capital. For now, it's like my team sucks. I expect it to suck for 2 or 3 years maybe, and I'm planning for the future. It kind of ruins the experience of people like that because then they just get
Well, I mean, no
the
matter
whole
what,
league gets
you
reset
just
by the
get
super
nuked
team.
anyway. So
Yeah.
What it should do for those people is study up on your draft, and you should have better parity coming into it next year. Because you
Right.
should reset the parity machine ideally. But
I mean, sure, I guess as much as I enjoy like the whole draft, like the whole draft analyst thing, like I really do enjoy like the pre like combine, like actual like not following the college season, but like just general leaderboards of like mock drafts and stuff. Like that's a lot of fun. But also like none of those guys, like if you're banking on like a Malik Neighbors to carry you, like your team's gonna suck. Like, I don't care.
Not gonna go
Yeah,
well.
you're gonna need multiple things to work out in that case.
Yeah, no, what I meant was, nail the startup draft. The concurrent startup draft, right? That would imply the parity. But yeah, because one rookie draft is not gonna change your fortunes long term.
Unless you like end up with like a Malik Neighbors, Puka, and like I don't know, name 2 other dudes like Bijan and Gibbs.
Let's say you got you drafted a Gronk and then a Julio Jones and then you got Pat Mahomes his rookie season and you could just let's say you sold your Frank Gores of the world and just completely cleared house of all the
Frank Gores, your
even though he still had tread on the tires left, you just reloaded and you just hit, then that's what you're hoping for.
But everybody's hoping for that, yeah.
Yeah.
We all want the next Puka. Like no one's gonna like say they don't want that.
So the college football doing analysis on all the players and things, it can be kind of hard just because it's difficult to keep track of all the games that are going on. It's easy to just go look at highlights. I wish there was a service that was kind of like the NFL Premium. I pay $60 a year for the NFL Premium service, and it's awesome because it gives you replays going back to 2008, and they give you all 22 film for every game. It's awesome. I wish there was something like that for college football because I want to go look at all 22 film.
Oh, there is.
Without having to wade through just like using DVR controls.
No, Scott, there is. You can go out and get all 22. Like it's really expensive, and
no, that's what I'm saying. It's really expensive. $60 a year for NFL Premium all 22 that's reasonable.
That's
to
totally
me.
reasonable.
I don't mind. I don't want to spend $300 on college film just for my rookie draft to pick maybe like 1 or 2 guys.
Could we democratize this resource? Like, could we get a bunch of if people are interested, could we get a bunch of people to go in on it? I mean,
I have no idea how much the NC2A charges for their all 22.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Or
if it's even something you could
share.
Right. I mean, share the username and password, make something generalized, but
the best thing I could think of is I can do Pro Sports Reference, which is a similar site to PFR where I get all the stats for Toulouse tools, and I could create a page that has they have tables for the stats leaders for every position. I could just dump them there, and then everyone can do their own research. It would just be consolidated in Toulouse tools. That's kind of an idea I had, but
I would having followed the draft for a couple of years now, like relatively closely, I don't think that would help anybody. Like the way that college stats like stack up is just like,
well, at least gives you a good idea because like you can go look right now. It's be like Ashton Gianti is like RB1 right now on everyone's boards, and it would be helpful for everyone to know who these players are at least.
Yeah, but you can go look at like the mock drafts that are out now to figure out who may or may not be going in the first round, who are the RBs, who like all that stuff is out there. If you're
right, so here's my point though.
No, it's a little early anyway. I mean, wait till the season's over. People get like fucking devastatingly injured. Shit happens.
Also, like if you look at like where like who's a good example? Like Zach Evans a couple of years ago was an RB that went to the Rams in like the 6th round. That guy was projected to be a first rounder halfway through the season, and like it completely fell apart.
Yep.
Like, he had great stats. He was a prolific, absolutely prolific college player.
And they were talking about Will Levis 101.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago,
Well, no, that was a week before because somebody on Reddit decided that was a thing.
Oh no, people were hyping up Will Levis even the year before he declared, saying that he was going to be a first round top 10 for
see
sure.
How that's gone.
I mean, Drake May had the same hype. But it was basically like if Caleb wasn't in this draft, Drake May would be
101.
Yeah, the Mayo quarterback.
But here's kind of my thought of having just taking the the stats tables from a Pro Sports Reference and putting it into Toulouse Tools as just a page with just a basic table with names and numbers, right? And it would update every week. And it would at least be a centralized repository for everyone in the league to look at, so they don't have to go digging through. They can do, obviously, and I hope everyone's doing this on their own, finding their own mock draft sources or looking at their own articles and doing their own research, but it would at least give a frame of reference to keep the draft as competitive as it could be, because otherwise people,
Can you pull the first 2 rounds of the consensus big board?
I'm sure I could do
I'll pull
pretty
it
much
up.
anything.
Because I think the best draft board is the consensus big board, because it's the aggregate of every single mock draft that gets released throughout the year. And I'm talking about the random beat reporter from the Detroit Lions draft.
Right.
It aggregates everything. So all the players that will be drafted get on there, and it will capture as the broadest swath. If you can get the last if you can get the first 2 rounds, that's good enough for that's a good you're gonna get some guys that'll fall, so you'll get some risers out of that. I mean, you could do 3 rounds, whatever.
Yeah, this Travis Hunter guy is really interesting. I'm really
have you not
really
been watching
curious.
his tape? I mean, have you not been watching?
Quarterback, wide receiver, dude.
He is literally the dual threat guy.
He's kind of like the Shohei Ohtani of football this year. It's absolutely crazy. I'm really curious to see if he just ends up being a wide receiver. Because if he wants some money, he should play wide receiver. But if he actually can play, on both sides of the ball, 75% of the snaps, or maybe split it 50-75 on back and forth, he's a cheat code in your DB slot.
Dude, for real.
I personally think Travis Hunter will choose wide receiver because A, the money, and B, there is going to be an NFL team that says, we will draft you, but you're not playing defense, or you're not playing offense. Right. We're taking you because you're this.
Well, let's be honest. Pretty much the only reason that he's, the consensus 101 right now is because of this tantalizing prospect of having a generation, the word generational is thrown around all the time, but having the Shohei Ohtani of the NFL would be, worth the one.
If he actually did it, yeah.
Yeah, if he did it. But if he's just a wide receiver, he's a wide receiver, and he probably will be a late first.
Right.
I don't know, man. He's athletic enough. I think
he's probably a mid first, depending on how things fall and things look at the combine. I mean, it would take somebody having to go pretty meteorically crazy in order to beat him, or a quarterback needy team takes first if he doesn't go 1-on-1.
No, somebody's going to take Shador, Carson Beck, Ewers, or Ark Manning 101. There's no way any of these dudes are going 101. Mason Graham's probably better than Travis Hunter right now as a player. Just straight better.
Was also premium position. He's an edge rusher, right?
No,
or is he a tackle?
He's an inside guy.
He's an inside. Okay. But still, you can still find inside rushers and run stuffers. I mean, that is a new thing on defense that's starting to come up quite a bit. Is finding inside guys who can really do some pressuring.
I mean, Aaron Donald changed the way that NFL defenses work.
Exactly.
I mean, there was J.J. Watt before that, and Warren Sapp, but
I mean, yeah, the consistency of those 3 guys across those eras makes a case for more teams to go look, especially with the dominance of Aaron Donald.
Yeah, I mean, also just general positional stuff, Will Campbell, that guy was talked about as a top 5 guy last year if he came out, the LSU tackle,
So I don't want to get too wrapped up in off-season talk at this point, just because this board is going to look completely different. But I think this is a good idea. I'll see what I can do to scrape this site if they play nice.
You just need to get the names And
Yeah, exactly. I think
this has
that's why I like the. That's why I like
play
the.
nice. Here, I'll
I'm sure
stop
it
the
will.
stream.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm
but
sure they'll work. I mean, shoot. Let me pull the source.
I think the stats also helps as well.
Yeah, I think the stats. It's just like if you want. I was just like the dump of every single college player.
Yeah, the board. So maybe it would be I could do like 2 different resources. I could have, or on one page, maybe have all players by position and filter them by stats. So you can just kind of look at like all of the high performance players for each position, and you can research them that way. Or you can look at the big board, the top 100 or whatever, and look at how these players might get picked, and it will update throughout the actual season. It'll be interesting to look at next season when the tool gets built, to look like week 1, because there's a couple college games that have already happened, what it already looks like, and you can kind of plan. It just like adds more to the experience of being in a dynasty league, and I think will assist people with the somewhat daunting task of consuming college football, because I know just because you play dynasty doesn't mean you're a college football aficionado. You really just have to pay attention to the combine and the draft. If you play dynasty, that's about it. But if you actually care about college football,
tune in around
really
the time
valuable.
of the combine to the draft process. That's the
I would say for those of you that don't like college football, watch the playoffs. That gives you a good idea of who the best teams,
or at least the
best
Senior
players are
Bowl.
gonna
You
be.
can always find some good gems at the Senior Bowl if you're watching
personally
tape.
wouldn't. I mean, unless you like. I mean, I would look at my general strategy would be to look at the big board, see if you can find if there are games that you can catch if you like have the time, watch those players just to get an idea. But really, at the end of the day, like right around the Super Bowl is when draft season starts. Just start following the news then. Like pay attention to the Shrine Bowl, pay attention to the Senior Bowl. Like it's the up and down, play the board. Like there are really great draft like resources out there. Like Dane Brugler is an absolute freak and probably doesn't see his family during like
or touch grass.
Yeah, he needs
no,
to touch
he's
grass.
hooked up to the computer like fucking Serial Experiments lane the entirety of draft season.
That guy puts out I brought it to the draft this year. I like didn't use it because like it had like 3 picks, but like he puts out the beast every year. It's got like 400 fucking players in it. It's like special teamers, like punters, like linemen, everybody.
Yeah, my issue is again film. You can just go. There's free.
YouTube.
You know, Just Bombs Productions puts out highlights for basically all the highly drafted, even the like day 2, 3 guys. There's highlights for everybody, but that's their best. Like if you want a more measured evaluation of a player that you're interested in, it's best to look at all 22 film. But it's hard to get, especially for smaller schools.
There are. When we were doing our startup, I went pretty heavily into like what random film you can find. You can find individual offensive linemen, like not individual, but like offense defense line matchups, like super cut for games. You can find super cuts for the QBs. Obviously, like there's 2.5 hour film of Stroud and Levis and all those guys. Bryce Young has one. Like you can find all the snaps of all the major receivers. Like those aren't that hard to find. It's the guys like it's a non-premium positions obviously because like clicks and then the late like guys that are gonna fall late. Like a good example of somebody who should not have fallen as late as he did, but like had all that stuff was Roman Wilson. I don't know why he fell, but like he had all the like here's all the snaps, here's all the like the highlights, blah blah blah. Like,
didn't he test bad at the combine or something? Like he didn't have a good jump.
No, he had good. That was what was weird. He had good measurables and everything.
Yeah, dude. He was like a 4.3 guy. Like he was fast. He like excellent route runner. Like second best player at the Senior Bowl after Quinyon. Like,
Scouts have way more information than we do, so it must have been character. I mean, there's got to be a reason that Tomlin isn't giving him a shot. There's something there.
He got hurt during the preseason, which is why.
Well, yeah, I mean that's
definitely
preseason. That's not the draft.
I mean,
So
I think really what it came down to is like he's small and bigger, faster, stronger. And like, if you're slotted, it's kind of the thing where people said like, "Oh, JSN's only going to be a slot." That was like what happened to Roman Wilson. And so, if you don't have like the general positional flexibility, you fall. Like you always hear about that with like centers and guards. Like if you can't play like guard and center, like you're not as valuable. So you'll go late day 2 or something. Blah blah blah. And that's always like that kind of stuff is how you play the board. It's who's like who's the guy that's gonna pop off that got drafted to the right system. Like I can't think of a running back specifically, but
I mean, not from this year, but
like Bucky Irving might be the guy. It'd be like him.
Yeah.
Where it's like he goes to the right system, he like
right
gets the
opportunity. Yep.
it works for his skill set, and like that's a great like day 3. Like Steve, you got him in like the 4th or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you get
410.
Yeah. Whatever. It's like that's how you find value. It's hard to find, like because we don't get medicals, we don't get like character evals. Like
Right.
that's actually the thing about like the Beast is that Dane doesn't just go through like the measurables and the stats. He like goes out and finds like the high school like coach and interviews the coach about the player and gets family background. Like that shit, if you've never seen The Beast, like it is an absolutely insane project that happens. Like I highly
a monstrous document.
Dude, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Like the way I like Byron Young may not turn into anything because like he's 26 and like he's already in his 2nd year, and so like who knows if he can actually like get really any better because he's already in his prime physically. Like the reason that you draft him, or like the reason I picked him up off waivers is because like, oh, he's a high character guy because he went to JUCO and like found his way to the NFL. Like that's just a tough road. Like that guy's gonna like get some playing time.
So basically, the sum of it is, if there's resources you think related to anything that we just mentioned that you would find useful, that I could spend time developing for Klutch tools, then let me know. Anything that you find like in terms of those resources that you might find valuable, feedback is welcomed, and we'll try and make it happen. So yeah. So the next segment that I wanted to go into here was I wanted to go through each of the teams, and I wanted to talk about players, or a player that I'm stoked about and a player that I am worried about. So I want to do a mini discussion. Instead of doing a full breakdown of the matchups and everything, I just want to talk about a player that is basically a stud and a player that is a dud, but not just like based on last week's results. It's more of
dynasty outlook,
kind of like a dynasty outlook. Exactly.
Okay.
So like a player profile thing. And I tried.
I'm worried about him because he's old.
Oh no. I went through and I thought about each team, and I picked the players that I felt were, critical to their success in terms of just their impact. And if not necessarily if they go down, I'm ruined, but as far as, these are the difference maker positions, the difference in the future of your team's success sort of level of player. So I tried to pick your MVPs for both the players that I think are on the rise and the players that are, looking real scary. So let's start. I'm going to go by the reverse order of the standings, which is the way that I did this. So we'll start with Trevor. So the player that on Trevor's team that I'm stoked about is.
You want to stream? You want to share a screen for this, or?
I was just going to go through and talk about each of them. If we want to pull up stats and stuff, we can do that. Yeah. It'll be pretty clear who we're talking about for each one of these, because we're only doing one player. But so the player on Trevor's roster that I am the most excited for is Alvin Kamara. He definitely, in my opinion, has at least a couple more years in the league left, and at least for this season, he is having a renaissance in terms of his output on the field, and he looks just as good as he did years ago. Like we saw Kareem Hunt kind of turn into a shell of himself on the Browns. Alvin Kamara has just stayed strong. He's had a couple down years, especially in recent history. But the Saints have been bad. But this year, Alvin Kamara is proving that age is just a number to me. And I think that we meme about Trevor's team being a bunch of old dudes, but these veteran running backs that can produce at this level at this age is going to be critical for him. So
I agree. I mean, last year Alvin Kamara was the running back 5. Like he didn't change systems. They didn't bring anybody in. Like he had, the only thing you had to worry about was injury, and that's everybody can get injured on any play at any time, regardless of age. Like if you're gonna say he can get hurt, that's like the dumbest, worst analysis. Like just saying.
Yeah,
I would tend to agree with that, but also saying that he has a higher risk of getting hurt isn't necessarily wrong either, given his age. I mean, there is that as a factor, but it's not everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the worry with Kamara always, right? Is that he's getting older for a running back, and that's going to make him more injury prone, but that doesn't guarantee an injury. Every season.
The thing is, though, is that his elusiveness,
injury, I guess, is what I really think about it. Like, if you're going to bet your season on a player, like Alvin Kamara in this case, like what you're really worried about is a season-ending injury,
right?
Like, what you don't if you are going to say the hamstring, the calf, like whatever, something that keeps you out a few weeks, like that can happen to anybody at any time.
Sure.
And what you're always like, you're more likely to get those as you get older, obviously. Like that's how it works. But like the catastrophic injuries, like
it's not season ending, which is if
you're gonna end up like last year Trayvon Diggs or Nick Chubb,
the freak accidents
that can happen for any number of reasons at any time, and like those are the worst, and there's no accounting for them.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So the player that I am worried about is Travis Kelsey, but only because of the fact that Trevor doesn't really have a plan outside of Travis Kelsey, and he's 36 years old, and we've already seen going into this season kind of some concerning trends with him. So I'm worried about him. I'm just kind of worried in general about Trevor's tight end situation. I know that he mentioned that his plan is to parlay his defensive line into a tight end trade down the road. Tight end is just a mess in general.
He's going to have to give away somebody he does not want to give away.
Yeah, it's going to be a big piece.
Tight end, man. Tight end.
He can afford it though. He can afford it though. That's the thing, But it's like he's going to probably have to decide, like, am I giving up Jalen Carter for and maybe another one of these guys that I have for even like a mid TE1 tier player? He probably will have to, unless he hits. He was hoping clearly that Michael Mayer would be something.
Brock Bowers.
And Brock Bowers kind of ruined that. Yeah.
So, but who knows? With the Devontae Adams trade happening, pretty much guaranteed, gonna occur in the next couple weeks.
I mean,
maybe we'll see.
The asking price is so low. A second and some coins, a second and a guy. Holy shit! If the Jets aren't already on the phone.
Oh, for Tay?
Yeah. That's the reported asking price.
He has like what?
The crazy contract, 30, but
he has like it's 1 year, right? So they have to take on the contract. That's
they have to eat the contract, but like,
dude, contracts.
You can figure out some nonsense.
It's not a big deal. Like you can just add void years.
They'll probably restructure whatever.
They'll restructure it. Exactly. They'll restructure it. Push all the cap hit down the line. I mean,
guaranteed.
I don't know why teams don't just like give players like a bunch of void years, like 20 years of void years, spread the cap, and then the second they retire, pay it all off.
Yeah, I don't. There must be something in the CBA that prevents them from having contracts that long or something like that. Like
Patrick Mahomes signed a 10-year deal, and like they're just pushing it out and extending it void years. Like, no, there's not. It's just people are. I don't know. feel like I don't know, but I would agree that like, well, I actually here's the thing about Travis Kelsey for this year. With Rashee Rice going down, I expect him to go back to what he was because Rashee Rice was the only guy that was doing what Travis Kelsey was doing, and those are those crossing routes that like run after the catch that like you can't have Travis Kelsey do that the whole year, but now he's going to have to unless they get somebody. Which who knows if they actually get anybody, but in the next couple of years, man, 36 is old. Like, that's old. Like lineman old.
Especially for a position that does a lot of blocking. I mean, Kelsey famously doesn't do as much as the traditional tight end, but you know, still are doing a block.
He's the goat T.
He's just exactly. He's a great blocker. He just doesn't.
I'm not on board with that statement. I do not endorse that statement. I do not.
I don't think he's the goat TE, but
who's better?
No, I will not ever think he's better than Gronk.
Than Gronk?
I don't care. No.
Prime Waller might have been better.
This would be an interesting thing to look at when he actually retires.
I mean, the longevity thing with Kelsey will carry him for a lot of those conversations.
True. Gronk retired young.
Gronk got fucked
29,
up.
I think. He did, yeah. He said that he had so much swelling in his head that he could like poke a hole, like
that's
into
not
his
great,
skin, and it would stick. Like there would be just a dent in his head,
a dimple. Yeah, it's not good.
I love Gronk. Fuck the Patriots, but I love Gronk.
I love Gronk, dude. No one like Gronk is like a Marshawn level type figure.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers legend, Rob Gronkowski.
Hell yeah!
All right, let's keep this.
Let's keep this thing rolling. Yeah.
Yep. So the second one's Joe. Joe, the player I'm most stoked for on your team is Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that you smashed it in the draft picking him. Obviously, he was the best player available at that spot. There's no duh. You pick him, so that just kind of fell in your lap. So good for you.
It was an absolute steal at 4. Absolute steal.
The thing with Jahmyr Gibbs, though, is that he's beloved by his team. His usage is ridiculous, and he's really talented. He'll probably have a career similar to Alvin Kamara's in length and effectiveness. So pretty much nothing bad to say about Jahmyr Gibbs. The dude is a stud, and he's a great running back. And hell yeah. love me some Jahmyr Gibbs. Not really much to say.
Fun to watch, dude.
Yeah, he is fun to watch.
He's crazy.
The second they started letting him run through the tackles and not bounce outside,
I'm sure you do, Steve.
Music.
So Jahmyr Gibbs, Nick Chubb, Kenneth Walker, and Saquon Barkley are my favorite running backs to watch.
Dude,
and Derrick Henry.
Walker
Derrick
is
Henry, of course.
Absolute madman. Like, dude, like the week 1 thing that killed his oblique, like that WWE move.
Yeah.
And then, like this week with him like
the double somersault.
Dude, that shit was like, it's like, bruh. Like,
actually, I think
this shit's amazing.
Here, I have a tweet saved of that. Yeah, here we go. Here, I'll share it. Here we go. Steve, you get that up.
All right. Full screen it.
The greatest broken tackle of all time.
Dude, this shit's amazing.
Oh yeah, I saw this live. This was wild.
What the hell is that?
And that's like just an anal zone too. That's like an elite level linebacker.
He just absolutely like rollover.
He's not down either.
He's not down this entire time, and then just like continues the rollover. It's beautiful.
I also want to point out that the extra effort was the difference between a first down and not converting a first down. So
yeah, no, that meant something for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't want to like.
Dude's a wild man.
I love me some K9. Anyway, the player I'm worried about for you, Joe, is Mark Andrews.
Yeah, agreed.
Sense of a theme here.
But my God, am I starting Turd Ferguson until something changes?
Yeah, see, at least you have a backup. Like Turd Ferguson is at least at least a top 10 tight end, you
Yeah.
know. But man, the disappearance of Mark
I don't know
Andrews
what's going
is
on there. I've
legendary.
watched the Ravens. Like generally, I've enjoyed watching the Ravens games. I love Lamar. I think he's a great quarterback. But like they're having him block
When he's accurate.
when he's accurate.
When he's not slumping, but everybody slumps.
I understand the accuracy thing. Like you can always point to something, and it's like whatever. I just don't give a fuck. I really don't care.
He is single-handedly killing. Like he was complaining about disgruntled bettors on Twitter this last week after the game because they only passed for like what less than 200. I think it was like 180 something yards or whatever.
Yeah,
It's not enough to support. It's not a fun fantasy offense. It's good real life football.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like that first run that Derrick Henry broke was because of a block that Mark Andrews put like on some dude, like just absolutely annihilated him. And like,
right,
Mark Andrews is a good blocker, but just like Kelsey, like was not asked to block at all until this year, basically. And so
their usage
who
got
knows
away
if he
from
ever
that.
is asked to like run routes and catch a ball again now that they have Derrick Henry, and that their line is absolute garbage. But yes, I am very worried about Mark Andrews.
Yep. Yep. You're kind of starting to see the theme here. Is like these are critical players for your team that you're really key
I would push
pieces.
back against the critical part because I didn't win with Mark Andrews last year and won with Turd Ferguson. But I would very much agree that I am extraordinarily worried about him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to start a tight end, and a difference-making tight end, a la Travis Kelsey, that gets you 20 points a week, wins you championships, just straight up.
Yeah.
And that's what Mark Andrews was. He was on a Hall of Fame career trajectory until this season.
Dude,
now it's like,
what happened?
I don't like 1 month is not enough for me to be like, oh, he now fucking sucks. Like,
right.
Let's just like, I do like not to prolong this too much, but the Ravens offense is like not good. It is a bad offense because their offensive line sucks balls. It is
Lamar covers up a ton.
line. Like they gave up a ton this offseason. They're plugging it with rookies. Like the kid from the UW, bless his heart. Like he's trying.
He's struggling.
Like, Rosengard's trying, man. He's trying. Like
Fautanu or
no, Rosengard.
Rosengard, right?
Yeah. Like not Fatanu, the other one, the non-first rounder. Replaced like veterans, like
right.
Like
yeah, it's gonna take some time,
Yeah, I know. It's next year. Like I'm like the Ravens are not doing anything this year. Their line is not good enough unless there's serious improvement.
Yeah, Fautanu went to the Steelers. I forgot.
He's already hurt,
Yeah. Yeah, so that's Joe. The next one, Ben. Ben. The player I'm most stoked for you might be surprised to hear this, is Dontavian Wicks. I think this kid can play. We saw flashes of it last year, and I can't remember if he snagged him from the startup draft or if he got him from waivers, but Ben's team is in desperate need of offensive talent, and Dontavian Wicks' rise has come at an opportune time. And I think he's really been given an opportunity to solidify himself and kind of fix Ben's offensive issues a bit if he can establish himself as the 1A to the 1 or the 1B to Jaden Reed on that offense.
I'll double that up with saying that as Christian Watson is now hurt again, Wicks should definitely be seeing increased snaps in the offense. So he's at that point of having like the emerging talent and the opportunity. I will say he's got to work on catching balls. He had a ton of drops in that game, and that is like a lot of people say he's on the Devontae Adams route. Which started with just a shit ton of drop balls.
Thing to say.
But yeah, but people are really high on Dontavian Wicks. I mean, the routes are there; they're crisp. The one thing I'm seeing is that I think he's not running at game speed in practice. I think the timing is a little bit off a lot of the time, and that's contributing to the drops. But that's an easy fix once it gets identified. So if that is,
he looks really good.
So
he definitely looks better than any of the other Packers receivers other than Jaden Reed. I mean,
yeah, he's
like,
very clearly, Romeo is weird. He looks weird every time he catches the ball. It works. But he looks
I will say this though, the looking weird is like, I don't care about that shit at all. It's like the left-handed thing. I don't care. People are saying, "Oh, he's left-handed. I don't like it." It's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it works. Works well. I mean, his catch radius is fine. He brings him down more than often enough. So,
anyway, who are
you down on?
Yeah,
this is probably gonna be controversial. I'm worried about Rome Odunze.
Oh,
especially considering the fact that Neighbors and MHJ were picked, I think, right before him.
And Bowers.
It's pretty much this is the best player that he could have picked. Obviously, you pick Rome Odunze here, but the reason why I'm worried isn't necessarily because of Rome. I think Rome is a 1 easily on any team. But I'm really worried about Caleb Williams. Not so much his physical talent. I'm not sold on Caleb Williams as a leader yet. And you really need to be a leader as a franchise quarterback. And I'm not seeing that with Caleb yet. And obviously the statistical issues are there. Caleb doesn't look great. The offensive line for the Bears is not great.
You gotta say the name of the team right. You gotta say Da Bears.
Da Bears.
Yeah, Da Bears. It's not good.
I think the case for Rome that there is literally like 2 other examples of like a rookie QB supporting a fantasy relevant like receiver. And so any of the rookie QBs, all of those receivers are trash, basically, in fantasy. They may be good in real life, but they are not relevant. They are not going to be relevant. It's fine. Long term, as a dynasty outlook, if the Bears, again, like we said at the beginning, I said at least at the beginning of the season, if they don't fix their offensive line, they don't do something, they don't act like the Panthers and like fix the offensive line, like they haven't for 10 to 15 years, whatever it's been, like, yeah, they're fucked. Like every other team. Like,
yep.
There's no secret sauce to like, the offensive line. It's you must do it through the draft.
Players.
Those guys do not show up like until they're, Teron Smith and they're 39 and they go to the Jets because like their original team didn't want to pay them, even though they like have essentially a Hall of Fame career.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Let's also not forget that their offensive coordinator is Shane Waldron, and he is straight booty cheeks at
he
being an offensive coordinator.
So bad. Oh my god! Did you see the route tree thing? Did you guys post that? Did you post that?
I didn't see the route tree. I know it's bad.
Yeah,
you watch it for 2 years. Like, I like people. Like it actually like watching the Bears offense. It makes me realize that like whatever criticism you have of Geno Smith, he overcame Shane Waldron because he was good.
Yeah.
Like Shane Waldron is such a bad coordinator. It is unbelievable to me that like anybody.
Hold on. Like, Shane Waldron is a good coordinator if things are going well. If things are working, then he will destroy the other team by like 6 touchdowns. But if things go even a little bit sideways, no adjustment.
He has no ability to adjust. He never has.
Exactly.
It's super frustrating. It's a thing that the Seahawks ran into all the time. He would just like he would never do the thing that worked. Like I remember there was one game where like he just like we had like kept doing 13 personnel and it was working. And like then suddenly he just didn't do it anymore and it just killed the whole game. And it's like
we're gonna do some Charbonnet zone runs real quick. And it was like, okay,
drives over, fuck.
Ball, and it was working, but now we're okay. I guess we're punting.
Yeah.
What? So yeah.
Yeah. So okay, there's a
I'm not worried.
Great
I'm not worried about Rome
in Chicago of like a bad a bad situation with the offensive line, the rookie quarterback, and the
Basically,
uncreative
you were
offensive
worried about him
coordinator.
getting bared.
And
You got Bears.
the Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oops. I'm so sorry, the Bears.
I just don't.
Like,
I don't see a path right now. It just there's so many
So
problems. Like Shane Waldron needs to get fired. They
Matt
probably need.
Eberflus needs to get fired.
Eberflus should have been fired last season, but you know, at least he fleeced the shit. He was part of the fleecing, the great fleecing. So you know,
yeah, no,
let's give him a year. I get that, but like
Yeah.
the Bears were terrible last year,
Yeah.
and there's just no hope right now. Obviously, things will change. Roma, we're probably going to be talking about how Roma Dunze is like a superstar stud wide receiver in 5 years, but
I hope so.
the dynasty outlook right
But-
now is pretty dire, especially when you're looking. It's like that SpongeBob meme
the,
where
the immediate outlook is really bad. The
Yeah,
long-term
it's the
outlook has
SpongeBob
some
meme
hope,
of
but the immediate
it's-
outlook is not good.
yeah, it's the SpongeBob meme of Squidward looking at Patrick and SpongeBob running outside, and Patrick and SpongeBob are Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. That's basically where we're at.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Next, Danny. I'm stoked about Josh Allen. That's kind of all that needs to be said. Josh Allen is going to be the QB1 in fantasy for a long ass time. There was a lot of concerns about Josh Allen in terms of, oh, they're getting rid of all these pieces and the team is going to regress this year and they're going to not be as good. The Bills are a big question mark. They're going to sink back to what they were before Josh Allen, the before Josh Allen times,
before the Stephon
the
Diggs,
Tyrod Taylors and such, and the Nathan Peterman experiment era Bills. But nope,
no,
They
looks
seem
fine.
It's, I mean,
he's an elite quarterback.
surprising what a good defense will do too. You know,
That was another
Also-
thing.
Yeah.
They were concerned that the defense would regress.
Yeah, it's sort of. I mean, they ran into King Henry. You know, we'll see.
yeah,
Can
no,
they
I
bounce
mean
back?
they did get a little bit annihilated by Derrick Henry, but that's something that happens everyone. Derrick Henry in prime time will just gonna run over you. Like,
Yeah, if you don't
that's
stop
just the game.
If Derrick Henry is allowed to get over 100 rushing yards,
You're done.
It's starting to, your chances of winning go down.
The engine has
after.
begun. Yeah, exactly. Like,
Well, also like,
wait, has it started snowing in Vermont yet?
Who was that? Was it Cooper DeJean who tried to tackle him on one of his runs and got injured? Like, you don't stop him. That, like, business decisions must be made when he's running 22 miles an hour. Like,
was that the milk check?
We're gonna take too much time if we keep doing.
Yeah, no. Yeah, Derrick Henry. We don't need to. You know.
All right. So who are you worried about?
I'm worried with Danny's team. I'm worried about Cooper Kupp. I think he's done. I think his career is over. Too many soft tissue injuries. His prime is clearly past him. Even if he does get out there again, when is he going to get hurt again? It's going to happen,
I think
right?
it's when he get hurt again is a good question, because he has such an injury history. He always has. Like, he's such a great story,
he's
but
deeply injury prone. You know, and it's like,
I hate that term, but you're right.
It's like every if you look at the injury chart for Kupp, both of his legs are just lit up.
Mm-hmm.
And his core too, and like arms, like the dude is
just
a
Rams thing though, man. That's how they find value in these 5th round, 4th round, whatever receivers, because Kupp, Puka, and Jordan Whittington all fit this same mold. Is like super talented 5-star type athletes that were deeply injury prone in their college career, or came from tiny schools that didn't have any sort of competition, so they fell.
Right.
All 3 of those guys are the exact same thing. Like,
yeah.
And it's Sean McVay. He's gonna take your ankles. He's gonna take your knees.
Take your stuff.
He asks them of you.
I mean, maybe Cooper Kupp has a couple more years in him, but as far as dynasty outlook, I would start thinking about redraft kind of mentality when it comes to Cooper, just year to year. At this point, Danny's probably frustrated as hell and is thinking, like, when am I going to get a game from this dude? Because
that first game was awesome.
He looked great, and then he's injured again on the IR or whatever. You know, when's the next high ankle coming for him? Frustrating.
All right,
Matt. I am stoked. There's kind of a theme here. Kyler Murray. I think he proved that he's a gamer because
My hot take.
there was that whole bullshit about the Call of Duty clause in his contract and
Literally
does he care?
every fucking NFL player plays too much Call of Duty. Every
Right.
one of them.
Well, everyone like from our generation, but yeah. Our generation.
Either that or Madden, they all play it too much. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
they're all playing games. Come on, let's be real.
They all watch anime too. Every black dude in the NFL watches anime. I don't care what anybody says. It's not just Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams is just the only one telling you about it. Like Mike
he's
Daniels.
the only one talking about Pokemon.
Yeah.
Leonard Williams, Seahawks legend, plays the shit out of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, that was a cool video. Yeah.
Same with what was that dude's name? The Raiders and Seahawks guy.
Gabe Jackson?
Nope. White guy. Raiders. A lot of tattoos.
Thanks.
It doesn't help. Raiders, Seahawks, white guy, defensive end, lots of tattoos. Not Crosby. What was this dude's name? Fuck. Maybe he was a tight end. I don't know. Fuck it. Yeah, there's a lot of dudes in there. There's nerds.
Good content.
Yeah. That's getting cut for sure.
Kyler Murray is just, in my opinion, the premier dual threat quarterback. He's got a cannon for an arm. Like, dude can sling it, and
he can scramble like no
one else.
Else.
You just can't tackle him. It's like, how is he not down? How is it? I think that like every single time he's scrambling, it's like, how are you not tackled?
His supercut of scrambling better have the Benny Hill theme song.
Oh, absolutely.
That's all that's going through my mind whenever he's running around because it looks so funny. Because he literally looks like a toddler with a bottle, trying to balance himself with a ball, like running around. It's what he looks like. It's hilarious. And my hot take about Kyler Murray is he's the best quarterback in the division.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, not hard. It's like not hard. It's not a hard comparison. He's just.
It's just the Cardinals are such a terrible organization that there's just never any consistency for him. They just the revolving door of coaching staffs, and they just they have talented players. They always manage to have like really really good players.
They're like the Bears, though. They never have an offensive line. I mean, it's the exact same problem as the Bears. It's like bad management, no offensive line,
and then their mobile quarterback just kind of makes up for it. And makes things happen, and then they just have games where he just doesn't have it. He's not good enough to elevate, and I just think he's one of the few quarterbacks in the league that can just win a game by himself. He's like has the Pat Mahomes effect where he's just like takes over the game with his physical traits and his abilities.
Oh yeah,
not like Patrick, not the same way Patrick Mahomes does, but in a similar vein. He can just not get tackled and complete a crucial fourth down and keep the drive going, and then that drive that would have been a punt turns into a touchdown.
If he does not going to make a throw, he can outrun most people.
He can outrun any defensive lineman, any linebacker. He's just faster than everybody,
and he can throw as far as a punt.
Yep,
if he really needs to. So
yep.
All right.
So Kyler Murray, and then the player I'm most worried about, Matt, is Garrett Wilson. That is looking real bad. He was drafted to be the one in for the Jets, and you're out of excuses at this point.
Not the one,
man.
He has a Hall of Fame quarterback, and he's still struggling.
I will say this though, he is struggling. Obviously, there's some chemistry issues between him and Rodgers, but absolutely nobody should be taking the Broncos game as he's done, he's washed. Patrick Surtain is the best DB in the league. It's not close. He shut down every elite receiver this year so far. It's DK, Mike Evans, Garrett Wilson, and who is the other one? Tyreek Hill? Yeah. Who I forget who they played week 3.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We know Pat Surtain is a monster.
Pat Surtain's great.
He's the best corner in the league.
The thing is though, is that Garrett Wilson is it looks, because are they going to get Devontae Adams? When Devontae Adams arrives and puts on his Jet uniform, what happens to Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, who knows?
He starts competing with Alan Lazard for snaps.
And Alan Lazard is getting into his abilities. I'm having Kyle Pitts PTSD watching Garrett Wilson. Like these other players are getting opportunities, and he's not.
There's
And
the
he's not.
trifecta of players that need a new situation, and that's Kyle Pitts, that's Garrett Wilson, that's Treylon Burks.
But then you wonder how much of it is just the player isn't good enough.
Aaron Rodgers has been really, really, really deliberate with a lot of his throws this year. He is only playing matchups that he feels like he can trust. And so because Garrett Wilson is getting the number one corner and not necessarily getting great separation, he's just not getting targets and looks. Whereas like easier throws over the middle, and that's, I think, typical from a quarterback who's coming back from injury and still not feeling 100%.
Well, that's the thing, though.
Rodgers, and he's just kind of a fraud, so he's fine.
He's that guy. Yeah, he doesn't.
That's not a.
He always tries to go for high value, but yeah, not good indicator for Garrett Wilson either.
Yeah, that's not a good indictment on Garrett Wilson's, alpha wide receiver prospects here. If you can't get separation from the best in the league, like you're not in the same tier as.
If you're getting shut down every week, then
AJ Brown and these guys.
So you're not the tier 1 guy. Like,
no. Yeah, which is what he was
drafted to
expected to be.
And we all thought he was going to be after his first year. Like everybody thought that.
Yep. The next one, John. I am stoked for Terry McLaurin. He's finally back.
He's got a guy.
He's got a quarterback.
Yeah.
And the team doesn't look like a complete dumpster fire anymore.
Which, for Dan Quinn, good for him. Also, we are waiting on the second part of the season, Cliff. What you gonna do, buddy?
Yeah.
You gonna fall apart? You gonna keep this up? What's gonna happen, bud? We've seen this before. It's Cliff Kingsbury dials up the most ridiculous great offense for the first half of the season, and it looks unstoppable. And then I don't know what happens the second part.
There's enough tape
goes, but it implodes. Everything implodes.
Defense falls apart. They get a couple bad losses. Cliff loses the locker room.
Ends up in Thailand.
But that's why you have Dan Quinn.
The rah guy. Dan Quinn is like one of the most personable coaches in the NFL.
Yeah, right. And then
no question about whether or not the players like Dan Quinn.
He can definitely lead our locker room. And then that leaves Cliff to just do his scheming, which is good because then he just doesn't worry about it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good plan. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he's a defensive dude too.
And then you're kind of fucked.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, but seriously, Quinn being a defensive guy helps that a lot because he can help focus on that side of it. And the Commanders need that. They have great pieces. They needed a good coordinator.
Yeah.
I am worried about Travis Etienne. We kind of saw the writing on the wall here where
this is another offensive line problem.
Well, no. The coaching staff, even last year when he was getting absolutely force-fed the ball, and he was, he's a little Travis Etienne is a small guy, and he was being played like Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb or like these guys that just get like 200-300 touches a year. He was getting fed like prime Zeke, and the dude's scat back.
Yeah,
he's a small dude, right?
Right.
Comparatively, like everyone in the NFL is an athletic freak.
I mean, but
Travis Etienne is not
like 5'10" and 220 pounds or something, right?
Also, there's a reason that Doug Peterson got chased out of Philly a year after winning the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't believe in the Jags, organizationally, coaches. I don't know, man.
Well, even aside from the coaching, they're kind of intimated last year that they wanted to reduce Etienne's snap count a bit. And with the emergence of Tank Bigsby, who by all metrics at this point looks like a better rusher, like a pure running back than Etienne does.
Starts to put Etienne towards the number 2 role potentially.
Exactly. There appears to be a flippening, or at least a ugly committee on a bad offense emerging
I think
here.
It's an ugly committee.
It's probably option B.
Yeah.
I personally don't think that Tank Bigsby is better than Etienne. I think the real problem is they only run certain plays with certain guys, and generally, like, if you're gonna like telegraph what you're doing, you're not gonna be good.
Right. Yeah, they don't do anything to disguise their offense. They have another old man offense in the NFL, and those are getting 8. They're getting their lunch 8 right now. Teams that are running the old man offenses.
It's kind of like Romo Dunze. I don't see a lot of pathways to his situation getting any better unless he signs with a new team. And even then, he's probably going to be signed to one of these teams that has an established running back or a guy that's like pretty good. Kind of like the Dameon Pierce effect, where they had Singletary come in and then Singletary just looked better. Like your hope, if the situation in Jacksonville doesn't improve or his role doesn't change, then he goes to another team and basically wins the job, and that's asking for a lot. You know, ETN is a very skilled player, and he's obviously going to be a key asset. But you know, the whole point of this exercise is to talk about key assets and their dynasty outlook, and I'm worried about ETN for those reasons.
Agreed.
Even if he's not, you know, a dumpster fire right now, he's still absolutely, you can roll him out every week, obviously, but you know.
All right, so are we on to let's not be around the bush.
Josh, I'm stoked about Malik Neighbors. This is obviously a cop-out, but how can you not love what you've seen from him so far? The usage has to go down at some point. You have to have a more balanced team than just throw the ball to Malik Neighbors. Not even, you know, 2-0 with Tyreek Hill last year was using him to that effect. But the dude is already clearly a locked-in wide receiver 1. Like, he is an alpha. Talking about Garrett Wilson and kind of what the expectations were there, you're seeing what you want out of an alpha wide receiver in Malik Neighbors. The dude did it in college, came to the pros, immediately looks exactly as advertised. So, you know, happy for Josh. That is
I will push back on one thing. Yes, there's going to be a rookie QB in New York
sooner than later.
So.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though, is that Neighbors, he basically he's single-handedly saving Daniel Jones's job right now with how he's producing. If the Giants can just be semi-functional and Daniel Jones can play even a fraction of what he looked like, the team that beat the Cowboys in the wild card round a couple years back, then the Giants still have their guy, and he probably saves Dayball's job. Like, that's the level that he's.
I mean, they save everybody in the franchise for better or worse if it's a good season. You know, they extend everybody's job, and it, like, I don't think any of us have a whole lot of faith in that organization, but yeah, no, it's a really good point.
All right, so let's move on to
who's up next?
I'm worried about Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes, king, the check down merchant.
Yeah,
the last
Lord and Savior, the face of State Farm.
This isn't necessarily a concern about the player, obviously. It's more, I mean, you can't argue with the results here. They're winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl, and they're in the playoffs every single year, and blah, blah, blah. But, like,
their offense sucks.
That offense has been unwatchable for the better part of 2 years.
It's not very sexy, but it is working.
It's a shitty offense. But it's a shitty, terrible offense because they've missed on, like,
so many skill positions in a row.
Wide receivers.
Holy shit. I mean, starting from CEH, basically, all of their first-round picks have not really panned out, except for Worthy so far seems okay.
Guys,
no, yeah, he's...
So you're talking about offensive players that they've drafted.
The wide receivers and running backs have not been good.
Rasheed Rice and Pacheco are the only guys on the offensive side that have worked out, really?
Yeah, and those are both second-rounders, right?
I mean, Pacheco's like a 7th-rounder, dude.
Yeah, Pacheco was way deep.
Pacheco was like a 6th or 7th round pick.
Yeah, something like that.
Like a dude that no one, like, that's like the GM will keep him around forever kind of dude, because it's like, I'm so smart.
Such fucking value, yeah.
Well, look at their free agent and waiver wire pickups. It's been abysmal. I mean, their best one's probably Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, talk about a disappointing career at pick 4, dude.
I mean, his thing was injury. His issue was injuries,
constantly.
You know, he's arguably the best free agent that they picked up. Because what? Kadarius Toney, Juju Smith-Schuster,
Trade.
these guys are dust.
Juju was good for him that 1 year, 2 years ago, 3
He was
years ago.
okay.
Well, and it's
He
like,
was
are they
okay.
Good for them. I didn't say he was good. I didn't say he was a good player. He's good for them.
He's good
He got him
for
like 800 yards and like a check down king.
Right. But anyway, for fantasy purposes, man, yeah, Josh, you know, got CJ Stroud, but like even he's struggling. And if something happens to CJ Stroud, you have to play Pat Mahomes and you're getting in our format less than 20 points a game from it. That's not good enough, especially for this you know, insanely talented quarterback that we've seen put up huge numbers in the past. And also when you consider in the startup draft, Josh was the 101 of the startup draft. He could have picked anybody. He was the consensus first overall player for our dynasty league, and he's underperforming. That I'm worried. He's obviously a key player.
Would you guys have taken him number 1? Would you take it, Pat Mahomes?
If I was 101, yeah, I would have picked him that year, 2023. You know that the year before the Chiefs looked fine. Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes. Lock in your QB1. You know, I understand why he did it.
Oh, I totally understand. Like I was at the time, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was me. It was him, and then me, and then I picked JJ because that was my plan. It was like if I'm 101, I'm gonna pick Pat Mahomes. But I was the 102, and I picked JJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I picked Allen at 3.
Yep.
I think I would have picked JJ honestly at number 1. Just not the
best. It's
a
toss up.
But like I'm like I believe he's like the best wide receiver in the league walking in, essentially. Like
I think he's a Hall of Famer. I mean,
pretty easily at this point.
Yeah.
If he continues.
Yeah, he's Hall of Famer, but like he put up 1,000 yards last year on like 10 games. It was like, good Lord, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
he missed half the season almost and put up 1,000 yards. It's crazy.
Out of control.
So next is me.
On backups. Like they didn't have Kirk all year long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, I'm very excited about Justin Jefferson. So
mine is Brian Robinson.
Oh, that's a good one.
Brian Robinson has carried my team in terms of the running back position because he is
the better Robinson right now.
Yeah, and he's gonna be better than he's earning snaps over Ramondre Stevenson with the fumble issues that Ramondre's having.
That's Antonio Gibson.
Oh fuck. The other guy. The other former Commanders running back or current Commanders running back.
Yeah, Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the wrong team, man.
Damn it.
Brian Robinson is better
still on the Commanders. Yeah.
I'm just saying it. He's outproduced him for 2 years now. Going on 2 years. He continues on his pace. Like
he got shot twice.
Yeah, dude.
In the legs.
Dude, Scott with the all gangsta team.
Bang Bang Niner Gang team.
Bang Bang Niner Gang.
Unironically. Yeah.
I mean,
Brian Robinson looks legit. He's fun to watch too. He's also he's got vision. I like Brian Robinson.
Yeah, I think he's a good player.
I'm worried about Kyle Pitts.
As you should be. For the exact same reason
really.
Like that dude has disappeared. You have no idea what's going on. Like
the thing though is that Kyle Pitts had his rookie season where he played with Matt Ryan, and he was the one because the best wide receiver on that team was Oludame Zaccheaus, I think is how you pronounce his name. Anyway, nobody. And he got force-fed the ball. And he then got injured the following season after a pretty disappointing performance up to that point when he had a multi-ligament tear in his knee. And 2023, he clearly looked hampered by it. And there's questions about like the discourse on the internet about Kyle Pitts is the most toxic shit. It is so insane.
I don't care. I don't care.
The hate though, is just insane because the expectations for him, because he's the highest drafted tight end of all time.
He is an absolute monster too. He looks just like
But the thing is you watch his tape, like he's dropping balls, he's not getting separation, he has clear, like he just is slow and is not. He doesn't seem to have the energy. He's not. The effort is a real question, and that combined with the issues with the usage. So Zach Robinson, the OC of the Falcons, came from Sean McVay's system where they never really they don't feature the tight end. They run 11 personnel most of the time. And the tight end is asked in Sean McVay's system to usually chip and then basically clear out a corner or a safety with their route. And they're usually the third or fourth option in every offensive play that they run a tight end or route in. And Kyle Pitts isn't necessary. He's a willing blocker, and his blocking has gotten a little bit better over the last season, but he's not pancaking people out there. He's not the guy. He's not like Darnell Washington going out there and just blocking the whole game. That's not. He's kind of this tweener. He's a tweener.
Tweener
He's
just
not.
means he should be a wide receiver.
Yeah,
That's the problem though, is that he's not a good enough route runner to be a wide receiver. He's best used as a vertical threat. He should stretch the field and be given a couple opportunities, but as a fantasy asset, it's really concerning the direction that his career is going, especially with the offensive system around him and then all of the issues surrounding poor quarterback play for 2 back-to-back seasons. He had a bottom 5 quarterback throwing him the ball, and
you think he should be able to do a little bit more of the chip and leak out kind of stuff. That's the thing, and then start streaking down the field once you get a little dink and dunk.
Stuff. I think that's right. It's just like, I don't know. It's
his fourth season. It's his fourth season.
Yeah,
and he's 20.
Not gotten better.
He's 23.
Yeah, he's Andrew Wiggins, dude.
He's got a really he's got an opportunity to get on his second contract if the Falcons picked up his 5th-year option. So he's going to be there next year.
I mean, just like he's too young. Like
right.
Like Ricky Pearsall is older than Kyle Pitts.
Yep. He's as old now as Travis Kelsey was catching his first passes in the league when he came in, and this is his 4th season. So I don't know. I feel like it's a combination of things, but it looks bad. Especially last week, it was his worst performance ever in the NFL. Zero catches on 3 targets. Donut. Oof. And the tape is bad. I went back and watched it. It's not good.
It is, like, objectively, that's the consensus. I'm just like, with players that young, there's a maturity, just general maturity of becoming an adult, because you're just stupid as fuck. Like, also, like, the combination of a lot of things, from the injury to social isolation to Falcons are the Falcons. Like, yo.
Yeah, they're a bad organization. Yeah. They're the Mariners of the NFL.
They, like, I said it earlier, in the pod, like, I think it was like Garrett Wilson, or no, not Garrett Wilson. It was him, Treylon Burks, and somebody else, or like.
And Garrett Wilson. No, you said Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson, Pitts, and Burks.
Yeah, but like
they need to change the scenery.
Yeah, that'd be good for them.
Actually benefit from a change of scenery. Like, just get them on a good team, overpay for them, like, whatever. Like,
we do.
And I think they'll get it. I think they'll get an opportunity. It's just Kyle Pitts is like one of the most interesting, polarizing players in the NFL right now, and the discourse around him is like really binary. It's like either people fucking hate the dude and think he's a generational bust, like Bryce Young level bust, or there's still something there. And obviously, I'm not.
We're really running long here.
Yeah,
Casey,
keep moving.
We're almost there. I'm stoked for Fred Warner. The dude is looking like the best IDP player so far this year. The dude
He's having a year,
man. The dude is having a career year.
Man, I'm waiting on them stat corrections. Where's that pass? Where's that pass defense, man? He's still in it.
That dude's a monster. Yeah, not much you can say about Fred Warner. He's just write it out, man. That's awesome. Happy for you, Casey.
Yeah.
On the other side, though, kind of the same thing that I was talking about with Kyle Pitts. I'm worried about Bijan Robinson. The 101 in our rookie draft last year, and Tyler Algier is taking a lot of snaps from him. It's kind of like the K9 Charbonnet
another
situation.
Nasty committee.
But
it's
Bijan
not
isn't
related.
Bijan isn't doing the stuff that K9's doing. It's like when Tyler Algier gets the ball, he looks fine. It's like, wow, you see the 1,000-yard rusher that Tyler Algier is when he touches the ball. And it's like, you can't just not give that guy the rock. So as a fantasy asset, Bijan Robinson's touches are like his ceiling of getting 20, 25 touches a game is limited by Tyler Algier. So it goes down to like 15, 13, and maybe a couple passing situations where he's utilized. But, maybe not as bad as some of the other ones on our list here. But yeah, Bijan Robinson is definitely disappointing through 2 seasons so far.
It's the exact same situation, though, as Gibbs, and the difference is that Gibbs is producing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Demo is
a nasty committee.
He starts, the first drive, he is trusted around the goal line more. I mean, last game is, an outlier in terms of end zone usage for Gibbs, but
I mean, Gibbs is better on the red zone drives, but Demo gets the goal line, right?
No.
So it's like...
No. They you get this series, you get that series, and then by the second quarter, they start mixing them in sometimes, maybe. But it's very clear that Demo's the number one in that offense, for the running back. Yeah.
The same can't really be said for Bijan because it's a Zach Robinson thing. It's like it goes back to last year with, Arthur Smith. The usage is just not good for fantasy. The Falcons are a tough watch right now. The offense is just gross. I don't like it. Painful.
They're not a good team. Sorry, bud.
Yep, they're bad.
Too bad.
Steve.
Yep.
Okay, so honorable mention real quick, Jaden Daniels. I've done so many quarterbacks that it's like kind of a moot point to say Jaden Daniels, but he's literally I hate the word generational thrown around way too much,
but
it's hard to argue.
He's ascending right now in a big way. I don't know if he's generational yet.
The stats and the metrics and everything and the things that he's doing haven't been seen since a short list of quarterbacks that are
insane. Yeah, insane. Yeah. So
obviously he's going to come back down to earth eventually. He's going to have a bad game, but
sure, but
man,
he's on a historic tear.
That might have been
to start, which is really
might
cool.
have been the steal of the draft, not only from an NFL perspective, but for our dynasty league. You got him in the second round, and you might be starting him over Lamar.
I am.
It's crazy.
I mean, I probably should. It's a toss-up between the two. Which one is going to get more points? Literally. I'm going to this week because of matchup reasons. Absolutely. I did last week, and I felt better. I mean, I should have started Lamar. I only missed out on 3 points, so that's fine.
Well, you went from trading Josh Allen for a somewhat more, arguably worse quarterback in Lamar Jackson, and then having absolutely nothing behind him, to having a very enviable quarterback room on your dynasty.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what happened. Yes. Yeah. Josh Allen became both of those.
Anyway, that's honorable mention. I'm the most stoked for BTJ. I think that he fixes a lot of your issues just having
if the Jaguars could get their shit together.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, we're talking about dynasty outlook here. This is not just absolutely. This year, whatever. This is
no, he's good. He's going to be a number one in the long term, and that's going to be huge. He's already looked phenomenal.
He's also in a stable quarterback situation. Regardless of what people want to say about Trevor Lawrence, which is another kind of binary, you think he's good or bad. He's locked in with a really big contract, and he's a first overall pick, and I think he's good. I don't care. Whatever.
He needs a better offense to work within, but if you put him
needs to go.
If you put him in a Shanahan-y system, holy shit, Trevor Lawrence just starts to go bananas, I think. You know, like you put him in a more quarterback friendly offense, he'll just go berserk.
Shanahan, and he's like MVP level shit.
Yeah, and you put him in that system, like he'll go bananas. The whole team will start to be fantasy dynamite.
Yeah.
On the other side, though, I'm worried about Breece Hall.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Braylon Allen.
And again,
it's coming up.
This may be just because the Jets are bad. They're a bad organization. They've been a bad organization.
They continue to be bad
for a long time.
Same, like copy and paste our discussion about ETN with Breece Hall. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Braylon Allen might just be good. Like Tank's Big V, be an average guy, but Braylon Allen's good.
Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely good.
Well, it's kind of like the Bijan Tyler Algier situation. It's just a different committee.
Well, or the, I mean, even more analogous, maybe the Rachaad White, Bucky Irving scenario.
No, this is that on steroids because Breece Hall is clearly a elite running back.
No, I know, and he's like losing out to. I mean, the Jets must feel pretty happy about their running back room.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, got 2 studs. Yeah, they should be running.
But it's like, why are they not running more? Aaron.
Well, they should be running 22 personnel, like more.
Yeah.
Like they don't need like Aaron Rodgers cannot be like isn't like I mean Aaron Rodgers ain't Aaron Rodgers anymore, man.
He doesn't. I mean, they need to convince him to like not put the game on his back and let the running backs do it, but he won't.
No, here's the issue.
Was that guy like
Nathaniel Hackett is calling plays
and had to defend him for choking? Because I know you did, because I've seen you do it. But like we all have watched Aaron Rodgers just not do the thing.
Not do it, yeah.
Which was do the right thing. He just has an inability to do the right thing at the wrong time. Like, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Here's the most important thing though, Joe, is that Nathaniel Hackett is calling plays.
That's true. He is bad.
And he's bad.
Yeah.
to use
Aaron Rodgers could just,
words.
Yeah.
He's bad.
He's bad.
Arguably worse than Shane Waldron, and that's saying something.
Yeah, I mean,
you got me there. Got me there.
Aaron Rodgers covers up a lot of bullshit for him. So,
dude, they went from like remember the Adam Gase version of the Jets.
Yeah, I mean the first Zach Wilson year almost looked passable, and then Hackett shows up like 2 years later, and whoa.
I feel bad for Saleh because he seems like a decent dude.
He's also a defensive guy, so it's not like you can really blame him for the offense. It's like he's not his bag. Like it's just not.
He's done his job too. The Jets' defense has been elite.
It's been great
multiple years in a row.
Yeah,
it's fallen off this year. It can't not it can't always be elite. It just happens.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, that's fair. Moving on.
Kelsey, again, gonna talk about a rookie here. I'm stoked for Marvin Harrison Jr. The dude is as advertised. I hate that he's on the Cardinals, but you know what?
He's him.
I like good players, even if they're on teams I hate, because it makes the NFL more fun. And I want to watch good football. I want every game to be like that Seahawks game this weekend. I think you could be an impartial viewer and just watch that game and be like, that's awesome. There's sacks, there's touchdowns, there's like stuff happening. Trick plays,
big plays, trick plays. Yeah, it's cool. Fun football.
That game, that matchup, the Lions versus the Seahawks, has delivered for the last 3 years.
Consistently.
Oh, it's must see TV. It should be like the
they should put on Sunday night. Really.
Well, it should be like the Cowboys. Yeah. It should be like the Cowboys and the Indians thing that they do every year. They do
for Thanksgiving.
Washington plays Dallas on Thanksgiving. Right. They should just have the Seahawks play Detroit in Detroit every year.
Yeah, they should always send Green Bay to Seattle too every year. That's always a fucking wild game.
Those are always good too. Yeah. But anyway, Marvin Harrison Jr.
He is
stud. He looks good. I'm worried though, just kind of in general about Kelsey's QB situation, and this is more of a Richardson issue than it is a Trevor Lawrence issue, because we know who Trevor Lawrence is. The problem is that we don't know who Richardson is.
Richardson is a guy who gives himself concussions rushing.
It's crazy.
That's that's not helpful, Steve. Like, that doesn't tell you who he is. That
tells you enough for me. I mean, bad decision making. Like, dude, it's not smart. You got to slide a little more, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does need to do that. I mean, no denying. You got to protect yourself.
Yeah,
I do think Anthony Richardson, though, is another in the Kyle Pitts bucket of you can't give up on somebody that young. It's like ridiculous. It is a ridiculous thing that the NFL does.
And that talented.
Very regular basis. Like, if people think you should give up on Bryce Young, you are stupid. He is like 22, 23.
Yeah.
Like, you don't like.
Yeah, you're gonna write it out.
You've like it's called development. Like, I don't know what the problem is. If it's just like the NFL for just doesn't understand that like quarterback's important or something. But like it's called development.
Well, this is a meta topic, really, because what you're talking about is an issue with contracts. Because the key, the reason why we rush quarterbacks to play is because a rookie contract is such a competitive advantage that they pretty much are encouraged to force rookies to play earlier than they should.
Yeah, you gotta hit CJ Stroud.
You gotta hit your CJ Stroud, and then for every CJ Stroud, there's 3 Bryce Youngs. Yeah. So yeah. All right, last one, Jordan. I am excited about JSN. I think finally he's been given an opportunity to like Ryan Grubb. The difference between Shane Waldron and Ryan Grubb calling plays is night and day. Jason isn't used as this weird bubble screen specialist anymore. He actually runs routes for men, and he's been clearly taking over some of the things that Tyler Lockett has done in the past. And that was really our hope, is that he would be the heir apparent to Tyler Lockett's role when he decides to hang it up. For Dynasty, though, it's more of a question of, obviously we got to wait for Tyler Lockett to decide on his own to hang up the cleats, because he is clearly a Seahawks legend, one of the best to ever do it, and a criminally underrated player. Great teammate all around, everything. And you can't really just be like, we're getting rid of you, Tyler Lockett, because of how skilled he is and how important he is, especially as a veteran. He just has a lot of high football IQ, knows a lot. You can't just like supplant him with JSN. It'll happen eventually. But that's
Bobby Wagner. Got to do that to Bobby.
Well, Bobby Wagner is also farther along in his.
I give one fuck about none of this, so we'll see.
The thing is, though, is that Bobby Wagner has clearly lost a step, and maybe we're beginning to see the beginning of that with Tyler Lockett. But
Lockett has been on a slow linear decline for a long time now, but that still leaves him a cut above a lot of wide receivers in the NFL.
So, I mean, even if he doesn't retire this year and retires like in 2 years, he's still going to be an above average player if the decline.
If it remains consistent, as long as he doesn't fall off. If he continues trending like he does, I mean, he's not the player he was, 4 or 5 years ago, but he's still really good.
I mean, he's the fainting goat king, so
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
JSN is a long play, though. I mean, Jordan isn't really firing him up and expecting him to put up wide receiver 1 numbers, but I am confident that JSN will be that guy, because he is a fantastic route runner. He's really good at the catch point. He gets separation. He's got it. He's clutch.
Those Ohio State guys are good.
Athletic Justin Jefferson. Like, he's just a less athletic version of him. Like, he just doesn't
like that
have the same kind of burst that JJ does, but like the same type of player.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically the same route trees,
And then last
same kind of ability, same of that. It's just not as fast.
Right.
And then last but certainly not least, the player that I'm worried about is clearly CMC. Christian McCaffrey is he's the talk of the town.
Double Achilles tendonitis.
28. Like, how can you not be worried, man?
I'm done.
CMC is, he has had an incredible career. He is clearly a one-of-one type player, and
also
I
said
I
before.
wouldn't be surprised if he plays 5 more years at an elite level because of just that's who he is. He's just beats all odds and is insanely good at football and is a freak athlete. He's got like crazy genes. It's insane. But this is always the issue with CMC is the injuries, man. It has taken him from like he's arguably a Hall of Fame running back to what could be, the greatest of all time at the position. Like we're talking like he could have been Barry Sanders and more. It's insane.
Yeah, he could have been in the same conversation as Barry Sanders,
Emmitt Smith, like legends.
Smith,
LT,
Tomlinson, any of those guys. Yeah, for sure. Like the talent's there. It's the health. Like he's 28. He's running out of time. Like he just is. Like the difference between like Aaron Jones at 29 and CMC at 28 is that CMC's injuries have always been worse. Like people have been like, "Oh, Aaron Jones has like got all these nicks and bruises and hamstrings and blah blah blah," but like CMC's fucking like had ACLs, man.
2 ACLs.
I don't know. I think CMC
big soft tissue injuries.
CMC is on a completely different planet than Aaron Jones. Like they're
like
not even.
Yeah, but it's the same. Like the difference between like the injury concern.
Right.
Sure. Like durability. Yeah.
Yeah.
They both are
is like
injury prone.
Yeah. Like he's always hurt. Like
high risk.
He's at this point he's labeled as high risk. Like he's had too many major injuries throughout his career not to be concerned about it.
Right.
Well, we saw with Dre Greenlaw, he had Achilles tendonitis, and he tore his Achilles. Like this, the reason why everyone's
on the field
is because Achilles tendonitis leads to a torn Achilles. It's not if, it is when. Which is why this injury is so scary. So who knows if he comes back this season? Who knows if he comes back next season?
I mean, if I were the 49ers, I would not let him come back this season at this point. Based on both legs, like, holy shit, friends. Like, you can't let him play.
Is the way this works is
you gotta let him heal.
I've heard doctors on the internet have explained this, so take it for what it is. But you compensate on one leg because you feel soreness in your Achilles, and then it transfers to the other one. That's why it's bilateral tendonitis, is because it originally was in one of his ankles, and then he obviously tried to train through it and rehab it, and then it spread to the other one because he was trying to focus on the other leg, right?
Right.
So
that's a very common rehab mistake.
Super brutal. Yeah, that sucks.
I think going into the season, like if you have a calf injury, that's always concerning. Having that's always going to be the precursor in like non-specific terms to an Achilles injury. Like name a player in any sport where like a calf has led to an injury and you can find superstars. Like like I think the one that comes to mind is like KD trying to play through a Achilles and in the finals popping it.
Brutal.
Oh, you're done, dude. And he didn't come back for years.
Didn't he have Achilles tendonitis?
He injured his calf in the series before. They did not release any sort of information about the extent, so we do not know. But probably.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, is CMC going to be in the league much longer? It's really hard to tell.
He's 29. He's 28. We have no idea. And from a very base kind of fantasy, especially for our league, he went Jordan's first round pick. That's a huge loss.
That is a huge loss. Yeah.
Why
he's on this list?
He carried him to the championship round last year, and like, if he had run another yard, would have won. Basically.
Pretty much. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much all I had. That's every team. So cool exercise. I like discussing players. I also want to wrap in more kind of league specific discussions so that everyone kind of gets a piece. the ball talk is good and everything. I do like being able to. I like focusing on specific player discussion and our teams. So
we'll have to
talk
wrap
about
this
that.
around into a draft analysis of
Yeah.
of our
It could be a series. Like, it could be something we do occasionally throughout the season going forward.
Yeah.
So, yep. But all right, guys. Well, I think I don't know what happened to Steve. Yeah, I think he has like turtle something or other.
Yeah, dealing with a turtle. Really a tortoise, but whatever. But just remember, defense wins championships.
Oh fuck! Really? God damn it! I'm showing for
Right
this.
back for it.
No. Fuck! Oh god damn it! All right.
Yeah.
Fuck you all.
All right, guys. Good luck in your matchups this week.
Oh.
Except for Steve.
Yeah. Fuck you especially, Targus. Yeah. Good luck, everybody else.
For those who are still avoiding it.
Yeah. All right. Peace.
Peace out.
Peace.